All right. Oh my God. Here we are. Oh, we are live. This is Crossing the Streams. This is so exciting. This is episode 69, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. 69.
69.
I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere.
Should we acknowledge that in some way?
Cue.
69, dude.
Tony's got it. So we got Tony back.
Hi, Tony.
Hey,
What up?
Tony.
What up? What up? What up?
But we also have to acknowledge that we have our OG back. Howard Rosner is back.
Yeah.
After a long time away, we welcome Howard back.
About time.
You didn't take the time to deep fake Photoshop me in there.
No, I had to rush. I had a lot going on.
Fair enough.
But
Are we going to get a Rosner rant tonight, Howard?
No, I don't. I haven't worked up the energy for one yet. I might. Never know. Something might come on.
Let's do the theme song. Tony, you want to lead us off?
Let's do it.
Wait, why isn't it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Go
Here's
ahead.
the
Tony.
story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and not friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Ron.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watching dream. Jeff runs Sal and Bob, and then there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Howard.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams.
Everyone, we cross the streams.
We cross the streams.
That's the way
we do it here. We cross the streams.
Fantastic.
Lee is in the house. Nice to see Lee again.
Lee is always in the house.
We
Always
love
good to
Lee.
see
Thank you for being
Hi,
a super fan,
Lee.
sweetheart.
Lee 69. All right, thank you, Lee. Hey, Jerry.
Fellas, Jerry, how are you, buddy?
All right, this is good. We have a great show. This is gonna be a super duper show. Let's get a couple things out of the way. Let's give a moment for Ukraine.
Indeed. I love that you do this, Jeff. I think it's a very I didn't think of this,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the least I can do is put a flag up for 3 seconds.
I know, but but you keep doing it, and that's the thing.
I think what Bob is trying to say, when you have a show as famous as this one, the fact that you're able to carve out time is
exactly
right. That's true. Well, I had to cut the orphan commercial that would normally have come.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The average Facebook user had the Ukraine flag up for about a week and a half, and then they took it down in favor of some, bullshit party they went to. So the fact that you're still doing it, I applaud you.
It's funny you mentioned that. This is a Jeff rant. So I have posted, and I think this is why no one likes my Facebook posts anymore, but it's like I've posted in the past. It's like, you can support something that Facebook didn't create an AVI for.
Yeah, that's right.
It's okay to, stand up for Israel or whatever you're doing at that time before they put the little banner. You can make your own.
Before they make it easy for you.
Yeah, before they
remember I think it was, I don't know when this was, 10 years ago when Fukushima took place, the reactor explosion, and everybody put the Japanese flag. That seems to me, I don't know if that was the first time, but it seemed like the first time that people in America are like, yeah, okay, we're going to support this, right? And then after a couple of weeks, being Americans, we went, okay, how long do we have to keep this thing up? We don't know what to do.
Right. It's kind of like, all right, it's been enough time, right? Let's just give him a Grammy.
Grammy.
I mean, what? You put in the time, right? It's the funny thing about Louis C.K. winning a Grammy that everyone's upset is, and I agree, I don't think the time to be upset is when he won. What where was the upset when he was nominated? That's when you should have been upset. The fact that if he had lost, you would have been okay. How about the fact that he made it to the top 5? That's where everyone should have kind of stood up and said, this Grammys is bullshit. Let's do whatever we want to do about that. What he did was horrible and shouldn't have been rewarded. But that wasn't the time to get mad. That's the Facebook thing again for you. It's like, oh, now it's easy. He won. So now we have something with it very specifically to be outraged about.
Yeah.
There's very little outrage in nomination, you know.
There's no energy anymore for outrage. There's no energy. We just don't have it anymore with all the despicable things that are happening around the world, starting with Ukraine and the piece of shit Putin and anybody who works for that guy. There's just no energy anymore, right? We're just like, I don't have it. Everything sucks.
You know who has energy? You know who has energy, Bob?
Your hands.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson, that fuck stick. That piece of shit.
He's the worst of them all.
What kind
of the worst?
Wait, let's.
The best clip of all, one of the best clips of all time is when Jon Stewart was on and ripped him for being a grown man wearing a bow tie.
Yeah, I love that.
It's one of the all-time best clips.
I love Sean Penn. I love Sean Penn telling Sean Hannity yesterday, "I don't trust you." I never really gave a shit about Sean Penn. I thought he was another jerk off, but he's done some really good work in Ukraine, and he's done some really good, work on bringing some attention to some atrocities that are happening there. And he flat out told Sean Hannity, "I don't trust you. Look, man, I don't have time for politics. You brought me on here. Let's do what we're gonna do." Good on
He's saying a little bit suspicious. My wife.
Is that a ballsy thing to go on Sean Hannity and be Sean Penn and say, "I don't trust you, Sean Hannity"?
Yeah.
What else did Sean Penn say in that scenario?
This big the balls were on that guy, and I love him for that.
Isn't it just a little bit suspicious though that every time there's some major tragedy somewhere around the world, Sean Penn just so happens to be there?
It is kind of funny.
What if Sean Penn is doing all this and we don't even know?
He's behind it all.
He's like Munchausen the world. He ruins it, and then he's like, "Oh, I look who's here to fix it." It's me, Sean Penn.
Oh,
Sean Penn is
Munchausen the world.
He's unsealing all of the 7 signs. I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing.
Fucking
good
Sean
point.
Penn.
What do your hands have to say about that,
Rob? Let's say hi to Tony Berardo.
Hey, Tony.
Hey.
Return. He's one of our friends of the show. He's been here a million times. Tony,
Multi.
remind everyone where they can find you after the show.
Yeah, so check out that last name, Berardo. You don't have to pronounce it, just spell it and put the in front of it, .com at the end of it, theberardo.com, podcasts, video, reaction videos, reviews, all that jazz is all there. And then on Instagram at the Berardo. I have a podcast about health, wellness, social interaction. So I interview guests from all walks of life, experts in various fields. So it's a lot of fun, educational, funny, and very stupid at times. But yeah, check it out. Thanks for having me on, Jeff. It's always good to see you guys again. I'm glad everyone's healthy.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Good to have you, brother. All right, real quick, Jerry and Carmen's drinking rules crossing the streams. If Bob or anyone here drinks, you drink. If we have a technical issue, so I think we're technical free so far. You guys drink. If we have to ask what platform a show is on, drink. If we forget to, they put us up on the screen. Oh, if we put, I guess that's you think after 50 times reading this, if we put your name on the screen, drink. If we forget an actor's name or forget anything, drink. Now, Jerry is a super fan, so we have a special contest. He approached me and he wanted to do this. I put his art up in the past, and he's very, very, very
nice.
Oh,
wow.
So if you go to my Instagram, at Jeff DeWaskin Show on Instagram, you'll see this image posted. It should be there right now. And there's directions in it. If you repost this picture and use the hashtag and at me, at Jeff DeWaskin Show, and then, or you can put this picture into something else. Jerry's going to give away an original hand-drawn 3x5x5x5 drawing, one of these, or you can choose another one. You can go to his account at Jerry Chacone, CHACONE. Anyway, you guys, you guys can enter too, and everyone can enter. So go have fun. He wants to give it away. Prohibited? So nice. No, not where prohibited. Just have to be United States, so we can mail it to you.
Jerry,
But,
please send me the Betty Page, whatever you have on Betty Page.
well, you have to enter, and you can maybe win. So, all right, so that's good. Thank you, Jerry, for that and your wonderfulness. So head over to the Instagram. I'll put
That's
it up
beautiful
again.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll put it. It's really good, right? I mean, it's
Who's the guy in the upper left? I don't know why I don't recognize him. Who's this guy?
that's a
Jerry
good-
Chacon.
I know Walter
Wolfman?
White and Betty Page.
Oh no, you know who
and
that
Darth
is?
Maul.
You know
Who's
who that is?
No,
You know who that is?
I don't know.
That's from Sin City, Mickey Rourke.
Is that?
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
saw Sin City. I don't. Oh, now I get it. Okay.
Yeah, when he gets all fucked up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's him.
Okay. You're
That's
right.
really good
that
though,
is him.
because he's got
It
that
is.
big chin in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marv.
I like it.
Marv.
All
Great
right.
movie, Sin City, by the way.
That is a good movie. That is a really, really good movie.
Unfortunately, seeing that and liking it led to us seeing
Sucker
the next
Punch.
movie, Sucker Punch, which was
Ugh,
which
worst
was
movie.
one of
Worst
the
movie
most-
ever.
I
which
love
was
it.
up there with seeing Showgirls in the
You
movie
love
theater. It
Sucker
was that
Punch?
bad.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. All
terrible,
right,
That's
terrible
an
movie.
awful movie. It's
let's
really
let's
awful.
get into the goods. Last week we talked about Teen Wolf, Family
Why?
Tree, Draft Day, and
That's it?
Bikram.
Who
The whole-
who did Draft Day?
Sal.
Sal?
Did Sal like it?
I love Draft Date. I recommended it
my
to him. Did
God.
you like it? Did you like it, Howard?
It's absolutely a horrendous. And
Well, okay. You
unbelievable.
have an insider's perspective on that because you've worked in professional sports.
Howard went in thinking it was about a windy
Wait
day.
a second, Jeff.
It was about-
Didn't you give it 5 tomato sauce jars?
He did. He loved it. He loved
I
it.
love that
Wow.
movie.
I'm gonna
It's
have
the
to have a
rom-com
conversation
of
with Sal.
sport movies.
It is.
This week we got
That's
a good one.
Jerry Maguire.
This week we got a good one. We got Life and Beth, Jimmy Savile, a British horror story, The Batman. That's going to be a good one. And Trust No One, The Hunt for the Crypto King.
It's deep,
Spicy.
deep and dark this
I
week.
know. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off with Trust No One,
All
The
right.
Hunt for the Crypto King. I will say I watched this as well.
Did you finished it, right?
Yes,
Good
I
for
have
you,
a
man.
very
That's good.
specific review that I will give right after yours.
So how many of you guys have messed around with crypto? Have you guys played around with it? I mean,
I've won and lost a little bit through Venmo.
I dabble in it. I'm
Yeah.
not one of these guys that has committed any substantial portion of my
Neither
life to
have
it.
I.
But I'm having fun with it, and I will just say there is an element of crypto that you're sending money to these exchanges you've never heard of before, and like you don't know where the money's going, you don't know who's seeing it, you don't know if it's real.
True.
Your money goes, and you see it leave your bank account, but all you really see, if you think about it, is just a representation of how many coins you might have on some kind of exchange, and the rest is frankly just left to trust.
You mean like the
And-
banks and stock market?
Like
Go
the
ahead.
banks and the stock market,
Yeah.
exactly. Well,
You
Wait,
mean like
Jeff.
Rosner's baby connection collection?
so it was only a matter of time until a story like this was going to come up, where a major crypto trading platform just disintegrates before your eyes, and all the money is gone. And wrapped around this is the story that's profiled in the Netflix documentary Trust No One: The Hunt for the Crypto King. This gentleman, his name is Jerry Cotton. He's a Canadian who ran at the time the largest cryptocurrency platform in Canada. And it was a thriving business for the longest time until the day he died, seemingly. And he died, get this, with the electronic keys dying with him to the entire platform. So depending upon who is giving you the profile of this, anywhere from between 160 and 250 million dollars in crypto assets gone within moments. And his wife has no idea how he ran the business, has no idea how to get into his computer, can't get to the keys. His business partner is discovered to be a slime ball with a past in other types of crimes of malfeasance and other things. He can't apparently get into the computer or doesn't know where the keys are, and the guy's dead. And that's where the stories should end, except a number of different folks who lost their money get together and become kind of pseudo sleuths themselves to propose an alternative possibility, and that is the guy's not dead. The guy faked his own death, and he is on a beach somewhere with $200 million of their money.
Okay.
And the wife was in on it, and the business partner was in on it, and there's no doubt, and through a series of things that are not all that coincidental, they just absolutely believe this guy never did die. And that's where the story really begins. And I wish I would love to be able to tell you, and Jeff, I'm interested in your opinion. I would love to be able to tell you this is the setup to a really thought-provoking, really interesting documentary. But what ends up happening in the production of this documentary, despite the fact they got so much good, true material to work from, is that they leave the health of this production to these really poorly produced conversations with these amateurs trying to get to the bottom of what's going on in this case. A lot of conversations that are brought to the surface through Reddit, a lot of texts between the people that lost their money. There's no real, hard, journalism going on with this.
Well, wait a
I was
minute.
hoping-
How did people lose their money in this? I thought this guy, whether he's dead or not, really.
Yeah.
How did he take advantage of these people?
So one of the cases that they were particularly that was one of the more compelling aspects of it was this guy profiled about he was trading money and it wanted to avoid a tax element of it. So he used the cryptocurrency platform that this guy ran just for the briefest of moments. He put his cash into the platform and then was going to pull, I believe, Bitcoin out of the platform all in one transaction, and put his cash into the platform and then started clicking.
$400,000.
Right, $400,000, and ain't nothing coming out of it. And he keeps getting windows coming up saying that this is still being processed, and we have to we'll let you know when we
you know what this reminds me of? I'm sorry to interrupt, but this vision I have in my head is that scene in Ghost where Tony Goldwyn is trying to access. He's get that money out, and Patrick Swayze is the ghost behind him going, "It ain't there, dude."
Yeah. Well, so I'm here to tell you, I'm disappointed in the documentary. It's a super interesting story, and that's my disappointment. Is they took something that I think that was really, really interesting, and they didn't do enough with it. Once they got into the harder journalism, finally towards the end of the documentary, one of these investigative journalists did go to where this guy supposedly died, and actually figured out the actual hospital and the doctor that cared for him. And I don't think it's wrecking anything. Did determine actually, in fact, the guy did die.
Oh, okay.
But the money's still gone, and the wife is still around, and seemingly they're not sure what's going on with her or whether she has access to the money or not, because she's not talking, and the slimy business partner is still around. It just doesn't come fully around to giving you a sense of the caper, and that's what you really want throughout the documentary. You want to get your closure. You need closure.
So
go ahead. I'll pause here because Jeff saw it and I'm interested in his opinion.
So this would have been my review had you not seen it. I would have been like, "Hi, I saw Trust No One: The Hunt for the Crypto King." It could have been an email.
Whoops.
Yeah.
That's my entire review.
Yeah.
The Netflix has a now pattern of taking non-stories and turning them into an hour and 30, 40-minute story where at the very end, the last 5 minutes, you realize, oh, there really was no story.
That's right.
They just dragged me along for an hour and
Jeff
45
is,
minutes.
Jeff is entirely
That
right.
is the what do you want to call it? The end result of the idiom that content is king, which is to say, keep providing content. We don't give a shit where it goes. Just keep providing us with content.
Do you remember shows like That's
the
Incredible?
Batman movie.
Yes.
Oh wait, hang on. Do you remember
sorry,
We'll get to that. Do you remember shows like That's Incredible or just anything, or even the news, right? Even
people.
the news
In
knows
Search Of?
this is only, or In Search Of, this is only good for
In Search
5
Of.
minutes.
Yeah.
Right? This should be a segment like this, like Unsolved Mysteries, where they do a 10-minute thing, or that's all. So the pattern of events here is that you realize all this was just a Ponzi scheme. It was just they just screwed the guys. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin. This has really nothing to do with crypto, except this is how this guy screwed these people, was happened to be through that media. It'd be like a Bernie made.
I was going to say it's headline reading.
Right.
With
It'd be like doing a
That's what it is,
Bernie Madoff hour and 45 minute where all they do is show you cash.
Yep.
Like, there's something about cash going on here.
What's going on?
They're just moving cash around. Do you remember the vanishing at the Cecil Hotel with the Elisa Lamb, the girl that went there? She was, and then she disappears and she ends up in the water tank.
Right. Oh yeah, that was awful.
And so that one and this does a real disservice to people who are actually detectives, right? Because it just shows these people, you can't go online and solve a murder. I'm sorry, you can't. I don't care what you think. You can't go on YouTube and understand how vaccines work if you're just Googling random stuff. Okay, there's just certain things you can't do. And they try to make it seem like these website warriors, these website detectives are valid in any way, and they're not. And they make it worse, actually.
Well, so let me. I know I'm running out of time here. Let me just say
fine.
one last thing, and that is this: that when the Bernie Madoff comparison is a good one, right? But here's the thing: I'm not a hedge fund guy. I was never going to be part of a hedge fund. I'm not that rich. I'm never going to be that rich. It was an interesting caper, but it didn't really resonate with me personally. Whereas the crypto thing, so many people are just dabbling in crypto, and we're all asking ourselves the same thing: is it really safe? Are these exchanges actually safe? Are we ever going to see any of this money really? I mean, you can't help but ask that if you dabble in this at all. And so, just on that basis alone, I thought the documentary was going to answer that question for us, and it didn't at all, Jeff. Exactly to your point, it really just is a bad story of a bad dude who just stole everybody's money, and that's it.
And crypto was the backdrop. It had nothing to do. It was just a sexy word to throw around.
That's exactly right, Bob.
Well, and not to drag this on, but there's a documentary also called Bad Vegan, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's called Bad Vegan, and she owned a vegan restaurant. The rest of it has nothing to do with vegan.
Has nothing to do with that. Right.
So, but it was really good, and I'm vegan,
that we
so
hate
I watched
vegans.
it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the trend now, man. You know what I mean? Like people click it, so it works. So kudos to Netflix.
Every time I think about Bitcoin, it reminds me of the scene where DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street is selling the penny stock, and he's talking about aerotime and how they're doing cutting edge technology, and they flash and there's a little sign on their garage. That's cutting edge technology. Right? Yeah.
All right, let's move on to another bad man that took people's money.
I love this movie.
I'm kidding. I haven't seen it. We're going to discuss the latest Batman, and Tony Berardo is going to lead it.
Jeff is just staring stuff up, kid. So let me first off by saying I'm biased because I'm a massive Batman fan. You can't see this whole area. I mean, I'm even wearing Chick Stick the Car shirt, and that's the Batmobile. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan, always have been since I'm a kid. So, but I'm a comic book lover as well as live action. So let me first off by saying this is I think the only issue that people have with this film is you hear it all the time where it's dark or
It is dark.
it's too lengthy or, you know, the pan in and the pan outs are too, you know, give me the action. Let me tell you why this is the best Batman movie ever made. For two reasons. It is the most comic book accurate live action that we've ever seen. In terms of if you picked up all the comics and averaged it out, this has the most juiciness from a legit comic book fan. So Matt Reeves delivered that on that end. But it's also, in my opinion, I think the most beautifully shot film that I've seen in a long time. So try to take the equation out of it. It reminds me a lot of like Seven, how Seven was very dark and ominous, but Seven was just a beautifully shot film. The LUTs that they used, the filters, all that stuff. So you get a lot of that from the Batman. But one thing I thought was incredible about this is, which people don't understand, you've never seen Batman when he's 24 months being Batman. Like there's not one, not even Adam West, like there's not one single time you've seen him on screen. So you can't really compare this to anything else. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, The Dark Knight's still the best one, bro. No, The Dark Knight is maybe a better movie. Maybe. But it's only a better movie because of why?
Christian Bale.
No, come on. Don't fucking insult me. Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
That was a Joker movie. Get the fuck out of here if you think that's the greatest Batman movie ever. It's a great Joker movie because Heath Ledger steals the show. If you take him out and put in Jim Carrey's Riddler, is it the same movie? No.
No.
It's so take that out of the equation, but you look at like Batman as a whole and you appreciate kind of this whole film. It's 3 hours, this long time, but 2 hours and 51 minutes, he was in the suit.
Yeah.
So for me as a Batman fan, and if you're a comic book lover, and if you love Batman, you look at that like, again, we've never seen that before. And, well, it's not a lot of action. Well, there is a lot of action, but thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Devon. Is it Devon?
You go, Devon. Yes.
What up, Devon? Thank you, man.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The big thing I really appreciate about this is when I talk about year two Batman, the one thing that's great about this is you really, see at the whole end of the movie, you understand that the Batman is really his true identity and Bruce Wayne is his mask.
Yeah.
Everyone talks shit about Robert Pattinson not being a good Bruce Wayne. You got to remember, he's still fucked up in the head. So he's still trying to deal with how to juggle being a billionaire as well as being Batman. What I hated about Nolan's take was he goes to the samurai thing with Ra's al Ghul. He comes back the next day. He hops in the plane. He looks at Alfred. He's like, I want to be a symbol. And then the next day he gets all the gadgets. That's not how it works, right?
So you need
gotta
at least
remember
3 days. You got mail order.
Right.
Something comes in.
And then they
it's
got
wrong,
to tell you
you
that
gotta
it's on a
make it
ship
back.
in L.A. Harbor.
Right.
You
Then
can't
it's
have it for a
delayed.
month.
It's like it's going to be there between 6 and 10, and then it's like no, it's not. It's lost. It's going to be there in a week.
So there's a lot of growth that I could see from this character. But I think when you see like the third film of Robert Pattinson, he'll be up to par with maybe the world of what Nolan created with The Dark Knight, because he'll be at like year 5 or year 10 of being the Batman. So you just have to appreciate the detective side of it. And again, a lot of people don't know, and I'll try to keep this short, but 1939, I think, or 38, that was the very first comic book that came out. It was called Detective Comics, and it featured the Batman. He didn't even have his own comic. And then eventually the Detective Comics turned into DC. So the whole idea of Batman was not jumping off buildings and fighting the Joker. It was him in a room as a detective, very Dick Tracy style. And that's what this movie gave. So if you could appreciate the character as a whole, it's the best Batman film. But if you just went in thinking, I want to see some action and, I want to see some hardcore Batman scenes, you didn't get it because he appreciated a little bit more of the character. And I could talk about Paul Dano and his incredible acting in this. I could talk about a lot of stuff, but that's just my quick take. I don't know. I'd love to hear everybody else's opinion. But
I agree with you completely. Maybe the only divergence here is that Dano was the least compelling of all the characters in that movie.
Oh, you didn't like him?
I didn't like. He was inert to me. I didn't care. It was like it was all about the Batman to me. It was all about Pattinson. Dano could have been. I mean, it could have been anybody mouthing those lines or doing what he did.
Which character was this?
The
Riddler.
The Riddler. It was just I don't know. He was fine. He was a placeholder for me, but I didn't care because the rest of the movie was so compelling. And I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time here, but I'm going to agree with you completely. Yes, I mean, in the early days, Batman was the world's greatest detective. That's what he was always billed as. And this is a detective story. This is Seven. This is Batman. This is a whole bunch of different movies all sort of put together. But let's be honest, Seven was was an amalgamation of other movies too. The last thing I'll say is one of the things I agree with you on is that you join him in year 2, in the beginning of year 2. And what I loved about Matt Reeves' take on this was that he didn't care. He didn't even try to touch on how Batman became this badass fighter and had all this gadgetry. It was just, he's got it. Okay. This is him. This is the way it is. He's a badass and fucking, this is what we are. Right.
Yeah. And
there was no time spent on that, which to me was always the least compelling of all the origin stories, the whole thing, his parents getting shot in the alley. It's like, okay, I get it. Whatever. It was,
I get it. You suffered trauma.
Yeah. Horrible trauma. I'm sorry. Go kick the Joker's ass. So I agree with you. I love the movie.
Yeah. And it's beautifully shot. I mean, again, there's just so many great things. Now, the one thing I will say is my only criticism to it is it probably would have been 2 hours and 20 minutes if there was less pan-ins.
Yeah,
right.
True.
Because there's one pan-in that, I think it was when they caught the Riddler and they're looking at the diner.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
90 seconds.
It really is.
I get it. But then also, I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
So
you spent
really
9
appreciate
hours watching this Batman movie.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, and I never watch things twice. I loved it.
Yeah.
All right, Ron. Let's let Ron throw in his opinion because
Ron's got an opinion here.
Ron, sorry.
He hates this movie.
Holy shit! This was the worst 3 hours I have spent in friggin' years. Well, your hat is on too tight, Tony. Man, you're like something's happened with blood flow here. It was the most boring. Like every angle of this movie just dies. There's no good discussion. There's no good action. There's no good plot. John Turturro sucks. And I love John Turturro. Nobody's a bigger John Turturro fan than I am. And
what about the Penguin? Did he suck too? Colin Farrell?
So listen,
I got you. Sorry, I had to say that.
Listen, Colin Farrell is Colin Farrell. I don't have a problem with him, but Paul Dano, I thought the Riddler character was completely stupid. I thought Zoe Kravitz was interesting until she absolutely wasn't. It was a waste of time. The whole movie. I can't believe you saw it twice or 3 times. You saw it 3 times.
Yeah.
I will see it again, Ron, and I never see movies twice. I will see it a 3rd time because I love that it's 3 hours. I just sort of let it wash over me. I loved it.
Well, then let me just say, I am going to then admit first. I'm not a big superhero fan anyway, so that's to set that up. But I'll just say this. I don't understand any of your points, so that makes me think that maybe I just don't understand. I just don't understand, and because I don't understand, I'm never going to get it.
I haven't seen it, so I don't have an opinion. But I've heard people either love it and it's the best movie ever, or they hated it.
So, Tony, Tony, what year were you born?
I'm 37, so 85 I was born.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. I started, just to give you some background on my love of Batman, I started collecting Brave and the Bold, which was the Batman team-up comic book. I started collecting Brave and the Bold somewhere around 76. So I've been a Batman fan for a long time.
Give it to me.
Don't understand. I didn't see it, but I don't understand. If you want a fucking graphic novel, read a graphic novel. You don't have to turn. Why can't a movie be entertaining?
It is a graphic novel. You're right, Howard.
Right. Why
It
can't
is.
a movie be entertaining? That's why I love the Marvel movies and hate the DC movies. They're not entertaining. You don't have to have a fucking, you don't have to hold your iPhone light up in front of your face because you can't find your popcorn in the movie theater because it's shot so dark.
Yeah. Howard,
This has
Howard,
become a Rosner. Like, why can't a Batman movie be fun? Like,
Right.
Now, hold
I
on.
don't
Hold on.
understand it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but since you are a Batman fan, I need to put that fucking rant down.
A lot of fucks going on here.
This is a Tony rant. So here's my take on it, and I get what you're saying. Is if you got HBO Max, show of hands. Okay, so you can go on the DC side of things, and you can look at the animated movies made back in the 90s, and they're rated R. They're graphic.
Sure.
DC has always been graphic. It's always been violent. It's always been dark since the comics. The reason why
3 good DC movies, legitimately
hold on.
good DC movies.
You're right. You're right. The movies have sucked, and that's where Warner Brothers got to, pick up
Yes.
their nuts and do it right. But what I'm saying is, though, the reason they're dark is because that is the true culture of DC. But I think Matt Reeves has something here, Rod. You got to see it because I think this type of dark fits with the theme. The whole idea, and I'll leave it at this. I'll try to. The whole idea that no other movie has portrayed that I thought was gorgeous
Devin.
was, I love it, was that Gotham City in the comics was treated as a character when it was being narrated, when it was being talked about. Gotham City was like a character in the comic. And Matt Reeves' Batman does a great job of creating this disgusting environment that's raining. It was raining the entire movie. Because that's how it is in the comics.
Yeah.
And it's dark. And from the narration from the get-go, talk about Sin City, it reminded me a lot of Sin City where he's narrating the beginning of it. That's what Robert Pattinson does in the beginning of this. And he sets the tone and he's journaling about it. Like, that is dark. This is some guy that's dealing with some heavy shit. And it portrays in the cinematography. If it was a Marvel film and he's like portraying the city is dark, I am the shadows, and it's like this light foo-foo shit, it wouldn't make sense. The tone of the film matches the tone of the characters in the city, and I think that's why it's gorgeous.
That's a very good
What
point.
I'm saying is, stop making Batman movies. That's what I'm saying. You're never
we
going to
love
make
Batman
it
movies.
I know,
Russ.
but you're never going to make it entertaining. If you're not going to make it
know,
entertaining, just
I
leave it
thought
to
it
a
was-
graphic
You realize
novel.
that
Wildly
90% of the movies in the last 20 years were either Batman or Spider-Man?
Yeah, that's true.
That's a statistical fact.
In defense of this movie, I will say this: there's 3 hours of darkness and some nasty shit and a lot of psychological, shit that Pattinson has to work out. The ending of it is the payoff, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. Matt Reeves, I think he strikes the perfect balance leading up to the very end, and at the very end you go, oh wow, thanks man.
Yeah.
I needed that. That made it all worthwhile.
What did you
Wouldn't
feel
agree?
about the 5-minute Joker clip? I watched some.
Oh,
of that.
I
was
don't
like,
give a shit about. I don't want to fucking hear about the
Hush.
Joker anymore. There's a bunch of Batman villains they could put in there, and look, Heath Ledger, he hit it out of the park. Stop trying to match that.
I will say this about the deleted scene, though. Here's what's going to be great about this. Mark my words. They're working on an Arkham Asylum series on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I would bet my left testicle and my other good lung that I bet they're going to create like a Hannibal Lecter type of thing, and the Joker is going to be the main Hannibal Lecter type thing, and Batman's going to come in and get his advice on these other criminals, and we're going to see a lot of different criminals, and then those criminals will actually be in live action movies. That's what I think.
so you
Would it
think
be boring then,
you
too?
think they
just
did
wanted to
something just to promote another film? So
Yeah.
see, they are just like Marvel.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
They're just
Well,
doing
they're
it in a
finally
very
getting
slow way.
DC is finally getting their shit together and understanding. You weave these things together, and you might have something.
Yeah.
This took them forever to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Mm.
But the Batman is actually streaming on HBO Max, I think, at the end of this month. So if you guys want to wait, I might even see it again in theaters just based off of this god awful conversation, to solidify the fantastic movie that is the Batman. And
I'm
he's
convinced that
what's a good
convinced that
movie?
all my back problems were started by having to sit through the goddamn Snyder reboot for 3.5 hours. That's where my back.
All right.
And by the way, just to Devin's point, the only person I'm worried about coming up from behind me is Regal Cinemas taking $15 for me to watch this hunker.
Regal Cinemas.
Go to AMC like a man, would you?
Go to Phoenix. They have recliners.
Well, we have Imagine here in Detroit.
So I'm going to take a second and pimp my podcast for a second.
All right.
Because it's of specific relevance to this
love
conversation.
that show on MTV.
So my episode, which airs at midnight, Thursday midnight. So when the clock turns to Thursday tonight, my guest is Roy Schwartz. You're like, I have no idea who that is. He's an author. He wrote a book called "Is Superman Circumcised? The Jewish History of the World's Greatest Hero." And
That's hilarious.
Everything that we're talking about, Batman, Bob Kane, Jewish, Detective Comics, DC, the whole construct of the comics industry was created by mostly sons of or Jewish immigrants. And this was one of the ways that they kind of made their way in America. And Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the creators of Superman, both Jewish boys. And we talk about, it's a fascinating story. It's not a Jewy story. You're like, oh, I don't, it's like, it's just history. It's just the way it is. But it's like, it's a fascinating thing, the stuff that we talk about and go into like some of the deep of how the mythology of Superman came to be and where the roots are and a lot of the things that we just take for granted that we know as Superman. It's a very interesting, it's a very interesting conversation. I mean, it goes into from the beginning of Superman in 1938, which you mentioned, all the way through when it starts to adapt some Christ characteristics as well. But it's a really, really it's one of my favorite interviews I've actually done. And so I'm excited.
I will be watching that.
Okay.
Jeff, I will be watching.
We'll watch.
So very cool. All right, let's go to one more. Do we think it is time? The time for the return of Ross?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Life and Beth.
So Life and Beth is Amy Schumer's new show on Hulu. It's 10 episodes. Amy Schumer takes a lot of crap. I happen to think she's very good, very good.
I do too.
Very funny, and I love the stuff that she's created more than anything. Trainwreck to me is one of the funniest movies of the past decade, no question.
Agreed.
This has moments of Trainwreck funny, but it's a much more emotional show than that. So the gist of the show is it's very autobiographical for Amy Schumer. The gist of the show is she's closing in on 40. She has a job she doesn't love. Her boyfriend is just a mess. She hates that relationship, she comes to discover, and it all kind of coincides with her mother passing away. A lot of the show is shot in flashbacks to her childhood. And so kind of as the show goes along, she kind of breaks up with the boyfriend. She moves into her mother's old house on Long Island, away from the city. And she starts to kind of find what she's missing sort of in life, or what she thinks she's missing. Michael Cera plays a guy that she becomes involved with who is very clearly in the show on the spectrum. And I didn't realize it until my wife pointed it out, but Amy Schumer's husband is very awkward socially. And he's definitely been diagnosed with Asperger's. And so the character is very much based on him. Her character and a lot of stuff is very based on her life. So it's definitely got some hints of drama and melodrama. But then the hints of funny they're not laugh out loud funny like Trainwreck, but they're really sarcastic funny. There's a couple of laugh out loud moments. She, of course, includes some of her favorite co-comics. Dave Attell plays the rabbi that does her mother's funeral. Christy Stefano. Yarmonika Saunders plays one of her best friends. She's great. Gary Goldman plays a character named Shlomo.
I
who
haven't
love.
seen it yet, Howard. Is he a main character or is he sort of an
No. None of the other
guy?
comic. The only other comic that's really a main character is Yarmonika Saunders, who plays her best friend. She's really good. And then there's some other ones. Rachel Feinstein plays her best friend from elementary school and middle school that she's been kind of estranged from. It's really good. They kind of so it's a really interesting show. There are some really funny parts, and I really enjoyed it because it wasn't laugh out loud funny. It was a little bit more, a little bit deeper than just slapstick comedy. And then what's really cool is kind of at the end of the final episode, when they kind of wrap things up, they talk about her having played volleyball, which I guess she did in real life, and she's playing in kind of an over 40 league at the end of it. And then they flash, and without you even, it's not even a flash. You just like, it all of a sudden switches, and like Michael Cera's character is actually her husband. It's like, not acting. It's actually people from around her life all playing volleyball together. So I really enjoyed it. It's a quick, easy watch, 10 half-hour episodes. But it's good because it's, you could tell that doing the show was pretty emotional for her. There's some scenes where she's really, it's acting obviously, but it's really hits home for her. Michael Rappaport plays their father, who's kind of been out of the picture for a long time. And I love Michael Rappaport in anything. He's really good. I recommend it. It's a good, reasonably funny, but decent, interesting show that's different from a lot of the other stuff she's done.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bro, you gotta throw up Jerry's last comment. That's hysterical.
What did he say? What did Jerry check on? Never.
No.
His life
Sounds
is
dark.
in the
Is it in the
universe.
DC universe?
His life and
No,
could be.
There's actual hints of comedy and fun, so it's definitely not in the DC universe. It's
Just
more like
like
independent.
I sell wine. Rosé.
Anybody else seen it?
I seen the first half of the first episode. I didn't.
15 minutes?
That should give you
I
a
enjoyed
good feel.
it. Well,
So
no,
much that you
I
didn't
got
finish it.
distracted. It's not like I stopped. Something came up and I had to stop. And
Oh.
then I
And
had
I
to jump in. Then I had to jump into Trust No One: The Hunt for the Crypto King, and then ended up feeling like Ron
Disappointed.
felt about Batman.
And I should mention, the last time I was on, I think I did a review of the Bridget, what's her name show, on on
Nielsen?
HBO. No, not Brigitte, and the character. I think I said at the time that to me one of my favorite, most heartwarming TV characters in a long time was a character named Fred Rococo in that show. And the character, the actor plays Fred Rococo, plays a key character in the first few episodes of this show, her boss. And it's just so funny and such a good character actor.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
we wanted to see it. We wanted to see it, so I'm glad you said that. I love those dramedies or those dark comedies. Like I'm into that. So yeah, we'll check it out.
All right, we're gonna check it out. And you know what else?
I am an unabashed Amy Schumer fan. It's fashionable these days to bash on her. Look, she's funny, okay? She wrote one of the best screenplays of the last 10 years. Trainwreck is a fucking funny movie. One of the funniest. It's funnier than any Judd Apatow comedy that he's put out. It really is. And it's got Dave Attell in it. So, and somehow she's managed to be worth $50 million. Okay, listen to me.
Yeah.
50. But you don't do that by accident. A lot of people are jumping on the "we hate Amy Schumer" bandwagon. No, she's a funny girl, man. That's the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
All right,
The show Sorry, I was just gonna say, if nobody's seen the cooking show she did with her husband, who's a trained chef, where they're in the kitchen cooking together, and she knows nothing about cooking.
I haven't seen that.
It's really, that's a really funny show too.
Okay.
I think probably Food Network maybe, but maybe Netflix. But it's really good. Sorry. All right.
Oh no, that's
All
okay.
right,
Good review, Howard.
Let's go to
Oh,
Jimmy
God.
Savile.
We gotta end with
British
this?
horse. Yeah, we're gonna end
Jesus.
with Jimmy Savile.
Oh, I feel bad about this because we've had such a sort of this has been a rollicking show. Don't you agree, guys?
Rollicking.
It is. It's been rollicking. It's just
been-
moved.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of good.
It's been a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, good, interesting conversation. Good mood.
But now you got to end it with this shit.
I'm gonna do an abbreviated Jimmy Savile, a British horror story documentary review. This just aired today. This was the first day it aired on Netflix.
Nice.
And it's a two-parter. It's about 3 hours. I'm going to tell you openly and honestly, I got through about 2.5 and I said, fuck it. I can't stand watching this anymore. I just can't. I know the story. I know, because I followed the Jimmy Savile story before this documentary. This guy, okay, I'll just do a very abbreviated, encapsulated version. This guy was the world's worst pedophile for 40 years. Hiding literally in plain sight in England. There were something like 450 cases raised against him at his death. And you can probably multiply that by 10. Okay. The number of not just children, but also adults, handicapped people. And it was, just the depravity of this guy is boundless. There was also a word that he was what's the word for a guy who has sex with dead people? I don't know I don't even know what that is.
Ron knows that.
Ron knows it. Necrophiliac, yes. So name the disgusting sex crime, and this dude had done it multiple times. He talk about hiding in plain sight. He made Michael Jackson look like an amateur. You know what I'm saying? This guy, for 40 years, he was knighted, for God's sake. He was knighted. He was a fucking knight. The Queen knighted him. He was a friend of the royal family. He hung out with Prince Charles, and I don't mean in an ancillary way. He hung out with this dude. They exchanged letters. They hung out. They had lunch. And Prince Charles asked him on multiple occasions how to deal with certain aspects of what was going on in British society, what was going on with a particular charity, and how to address, whatever was going on. Because according to Prince Charles, Jimmy had the pulse of the people. Okay, I don't even mean that in a funny way. I mean, he of course he had the pulse. He had his hands wrapped around everyone's genitalia.
He had the carotid artery of the people.
Yeah, he started as a disc jockey and became known as England's best disc jockey. He hosted a Top of the Pops, which in England is a huge thing. It was like American Bandstand times American Idol. That's how big Top of the Pops was. This is where every British artist got their start, and he hosted this among other people. He managed to sidle up to everyone of any kind of influence so that he could conduct his crimes in hospitals on children that were being treated for cancer, adults that were being treated. Amputees, quadriplegics. This guy, he didn't have. There were no boundaries to this guy, and so I thought, I was going to give sort of a chronology of him, but it's pointless. If you want to watch 3 hours of literally the worst man that ever existed on Earth, besides Vladimir Putin at the moment.
Or
Watch
Robert
this.
Pattinson.
Yeah. Yeah. according to Ron. The thing is, there's nothing. What I got out of this was, I mean, he literally groomed an entire country. He groomed the world. He told the world, and he said on multiple occasions and in multiple ways, "I'm going to jail." He literally said that. He said that. He fucking said, "I'm going to jail if they ever figure out what I've been up to." Ha 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 ha. And everybody laughed with him, right? He said these words. He said, "You don't know what I do on my off hours." Ha 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 ha. Well, it went unchecked for 40 years. They finally got him after he was dead. Okay.
Almost like he wanted to be caught.
It is. That's exactly it. He was putting out all kinds of signals.
Just like the Riddler.
The Riddler, literally the most boring villain in movie history. I'm sorry about that, but this guy, all you can hope for is that there is a hell and he's rotting in it. I could go on, I could give you I'll say this about the documentary. The first half, it lays out all the kinds of things that you need to know for you to understand how an entire country could be duped by this man. And by the way, I think England is something like 54 million people. At the height of his popularity, his show, Jim Will Get It Done, commanded 20 million viewers.
Wow.
Okay, that is 40% of the entire population. That's as if that in the United States that 40 million people watched his show. That's unbelievable. So I guess the only lesson I got out of this was that watch the people who are around your children and your grandchildren. Watch them with a very jaundiced hawk eye, because you never know where it's coming from. None of those people in England saw it coming.
Well, wasn't this clown, isn't he a big reason why we have those websites where you could see a pedophile close to you?
I don't know. He died, in 2011, I think.
Right, at 84.
He was 84, yeah. And if you look at him, by American standards, if anybody in America, you'd say, what a fucking freak. And the Brits just went, oh, look at, he's great. The gnarled fucking cigar-stained teeth, the weird glasses, the scraggly hair. I mean, I don't know if they just became inured to it or what, but literally, the only lesson I got out of it was, first of all, believe your children and your grandchildren, or any children around you who tell you that something felt off, because they're telling the truth.
It seems fame is a shield, and people are just kind of.
I mean, we've had a number of recent, examples of this. Starting.
All right. Well, I'm depressed, but
I know, and I hated to end it that way. I almost wanted to do like a. I don't know, like a bozo retrospective. Maybe
at the end, Bob. At the end, Bob, it sounded like you were enjoying it. Actually,
no, I'm just hoping that the flames are crawling up his ass.
Yeah, never go outside. That's the lesson. Never go outside.
All right, Tony, wrap up as Batman.
Oh yeah, I am the shadows. No, so thanks for having me on as always. Appreciate it, and I'm glad I was able to talk about the Batman. So head over to my podcast, the Berardo Podcast. I'd like to thank my sponsors, DC Films and Warner Brothers, for supporting the podcast. No, but check out theberardo.com for all my content and more reviews, not just all Batman stuff, but health, wellness, social interaction. And I interview experts. So hopefully I can be on again. I appreciate you guys. Good to see you. Glad everyone's healthy. Keep it up.
Good to see you.
Cool. I have a question for you, Tony, after the show. Rod, say goodnight. Welcome back again.
Good night. Good to be back, guys.
Ronnie, say goodnight.
I think I want to kill myself.
I'm sorry. It's due to my review. I really am sorry.
Bob, say goodnight.
All right. Catch me this Thursday with our show partner, Sal D'Amelio at Genetti's Hole in the Wall Theater. We are sold out, so catch us next month. And next week, you can see me in Tempe, Arizona at the Tempe Improv. Nice.
You can catch Bob on the Sal and Bob Show and Jeff Dwoskin on the Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Perfect. All right. Okay, one more time. Let me kind of just say, head over to Instagram. You'll see that post. It has all the directions there. Love for you to enter. Jerry's just dying to give away an original hand drawing. So check
Great
that
job, Jerry.
out. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. This was a fabulous episode. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts, Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show, the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.